everyone to today's monthly webinar, a topical one that we have titled From Liberal Arts to Executive MBA, Why Your Career Path is More Important Than Your Degree. And the idea for this webinar came up because people that are considering an EMBA, many times they may think that they need to have already a business or management undergraduate or maybe an engineering. And if they have liberal arts, they may think that that doesn't give them the right foundation to be able to move forward in joining an EMBA program, which is far from the truth. In fact, about 25% of our students in the Purdue Executive MBA programs do have a liberal arts background. So we've put together a panel of 3 alums and 1 almost alum who have a liberal arts background, who have done very well in their careers, and just to have them reflect on different questions of how that foundation has been useful for them, both in their careers and in joining the program. Today, I'll give a quick overview of our 2 programs, and then we'll do a deeper dive into different questions. Certainly feel free to ask any questions during the webinar. Today is for you. We have a chat box that you can type in your questions, and we'll make sure that we address them. In terms of who will be speaking today, my name is Aldis Krichunas. I'm the Executive Director here at Purdue's Executive MBA programs. I've been at Purdue 17 years, and in this role 9 years. Among different roles that I have is also teaching in the program, so it's great to have our alums and our student with us today to be able to answer your questions. Here's our group of panelists. So I'm going to ask each of them just to do a quick few sentences of introduction. And if Sue-In, we can start with you, please.
My name is Sue-In Kim. Now working and living in the Netherlands, and I finished my IMM program in 2016, and that was one of the best learning experience following my heart, also reflecting the last 15-20 years of work experience. So I strongly recommend, amongst others, IMM program to any other other people who are interested.
Thank you. Sarah, we'll go with you next.
Hi there, my name is Sarah Cadlock. I live and work in the United Kingdom in South London. My degree was in the arts. I currently work in the medical field within education and learning and development. And I did an MBA, the IMM MBA. So I have a very kind of mixed bag of education and work experience. The healthcare I work in is also a non-profit, so that was also a really interesting factor in discussions that we had in class and everything like that. So yeah, it's going to be great to answer all your questions.
Excellent, thank you. Amy?
Sure. Amy Phillip, Chief Client Officer here at SGI. I actually did my undergrad at the other local university that we won't mention in this call. My undergrad's in education, so I was going to be a teacher. I did not do that. I actually started at my company as the receptionist 20 years ago and decided that if I was going to stay with the organization, I needed to either leave and get outside experience or get my MBA in hopes that when our CEO retires, I would be taking on his role. So decided to do the MBA with a lot of trepidation, never having had a higher level math or business class in my upper level education. And the MBA program was excellent from that perspective and didn't have any real challenges. Aldis did a great job of pairing me with some really strong accounting and finance players early on that helped me struggle through all that craziness and actually be able to be successful.
Excellent, thank you. And Brian?
Hi there, Brian Cronin. I am Vice President, Head of Investor Relations at Sallie Mae. I am a proud alumni of Purdue University, 1999. My degree is in sociology. I've spent most of my years in finance. And when I began my EMBA search I didn't naturally think I was going to head back to Purdue, but I was pleased with the structure and the format of the program, and am thrilled to be finishing up my degree in the early part of next year, and doubling up on my status as a Purdue alum. Thanks for the time.
Excellent, thank you. So let me now talk a little bit about Purdue, the programs, and then we'll come back to our panelists to talk about their backgrounds and their experiences. So Purdue, we just celebrated our 150th anniversary, founded as a land-grant university in the state of Indiana. And therefore, the philosophy that we have is how can we contribute more to the community, to our students, and to the companies in the state, in the country, and around the world. Part of the Big Ten Athletic Conference, so we have that as part of the activities on campus. And then, while today we're focused on the EMBA programs, keep in mind that Purdue, as a globally renowned university, we're a leader in 200 different areas. So even outside of the EMBA, if there's other topics of interest to you, as a Purdue student, you have access to faculty, resources, libraries across a wide range of topics. Purdue, we have over 600,000 alumni around the world, close to 50,000 Krannert alumni, and about 3,000 Purdue Executive MBA alumni. So while your cohort may be 25 or so people, you're part of this much broader Purdue or Boilermaker community, as we like to call ourselves. And one thing that I've noticed is Purdue alumni are very loyal alumni. As I travel and wear my Purdue clothing, I've been in airports, restaurants, people will walk up to me and say, "Boiler up," and ask me what my connection is to Purdue. So it's not just a Boilermaker network, but it is that true cohesion that everyone has because of their connection to Purdue. And that connection is not just with the US, but we have alumni chapters in 50 countries around the world. So it's part of that benefit of coming to Purdue. Let's talk about the students that are typically in our program. So here you have, for the past 3 years, an average of the profiles of our cohorts. So years of work experience, we require a minimum of 5 years, average of 15. And we choose that minimum of 5 years because that's the point we see people start having more management or leadership responsibilities in their career. And having dealt with those HR challenges is a common thread that we see everyone have within the program. In terms of positions, we have an analyst, manager on up through C-suite, and almost 10% are entrepreneurs within the program as well. So the years of work experience and the positions are very much reflective of each other. In terms of industry, because people can and do live anywhere in the world, no one industry dominates our cohort, a fairly nice balance of what work people are doing. And then in terms of geography, a little over a quarter live in Indiana, about a quarter internationally, and the rest are spread throughout the United States. So again, a nice diversity of geographic backgrounds. And by expanding the diversity of geographic backgrounds, we increase diversity of economic experiences, of industry, as we see, and of functional backgrounds as well. Within our 2 Executive MBA programs, we have what we call a blended learning format, part online, part on campus. We have a fall start, which is our traditional EMBA program that Brian is in and Amy graduated from. And then in the spring, we have our global EMBA, the IMM program that Sue In and Sarah are alumni of. Both of our programs are 19 months start to finish. We always start with an online launch here at Purdue University with Zoom. That's become our friend for many of us, of course. And during that first week, you're getting to know the members of your first study team, members of the cohort, forming those bonds, and going through class sessions for each of the courses for your first module, as well as learning the technology that we have in the program. So that first week really gives you that foundation for success moving forward. Then you have what we call the pre-residency. This is when you are working with your teams, working with faculty, reading the textbooks that have been assigned, watching videos that faculty have prepared, preparing individual and team assignments, submitting them, getting feedback from the faculty. And you'll typically have a weekly team meeting as well, where you, the team, choose when you're going to do that. As well, each cohort seems to form a WhatsApp group, so there's a fair amount of interaction happening, not just within your team, but across the whole cohort as well. And then when you come to campus, you're building upon that online preparation that you've been doing. And so you'll have, as expected, of course, the classes, 4 90-minute classes typically in a day. And then those class activities are complemented by outside activities. When and where possible, we do company visits, guest speakers, we provide career management support, social events, basketball games, bowling, a little bit not as possible right now, but certainly class activities we've been able to continue doing. And so it's able to, again, learn not just from the faculty, but from each other. Because when you're just in a program where you meet maybe one evening a week or one Saturday a week or every other week, you don't have as much of that outside of the class activity and interaction. And what we have found is it's those outside of the class activities, working on a project, a case, maybe going out for dinner, where those bonds in particular become very strong. After your on-campus portion is done, you go home to prepare for exams. They're typically over a 9-day period, online at home. So you choose when you take which of the exams, you download it, answer the exam, and upload it, and you're done. Not as easy as it sounds in reality, but the 9 days typically seems to be enough time to get through the exam period. Then you have a break, and then we start the new pre-residency with new study teams. We change the study teams out each module so that you work with as many different people as possible during your time in the program. And as Amy alluded to, we in the program form the teams to make them diverse yet balanced so that you have the right skill set in each module as you go through the program. If we have time at the end, I'll ask our alums to talk a little bit about their experience with this format. But I think this does justice to give you an understanding of how we make it work. And so, because we only come together about once every 3 months, that's what allows people to live anywhere in the world. And it gives you flexibility if you have high travel or other demands on your time. Outside of the on-campus portion, there's a great deal of flexibility for you. Doing a quick deeper dive into our 2 EMBA programs. So we have that fall start EMBA. With that, you come to West Lafayette 5 times, 1 or 2 weeks at a time. And then the last time we come together is a 2-week residency abroad. What's neat with this program is that the cohort chooses where they're going to go from a range of options. So Brian's group has chosen to do Italy and Belgium, I believe, next year. Amy and her cohort and me, we were in Spain not too long ago. The previous year, we were in Chile and Brazil. So again, it's a way that you are partners in the education process and can participate and create a curriculum to some extent that's of greatest interest to you. Within the traditional MBA program that starts in the fall, you also have a range of electives. You have 3 that you take as a cohort, and then 3 that we call immersion electives, where it may be just part of your cohort working with the faculty on a deeper dive in the topic. It may be more quant-based, it may be more skill-based, or maybe functional-based in terms of that level of interest. We've had game theory, social media, presentation and speaking skills, managing teams, and more of those options. With the global EMBA program that Sarah and Sue are alumni of, there we have 5 residencies. Each one is 2 weeks, where we go to a different country or pair of countries. And so taking this approach, you go to 7 countries and 4 continents around the world. And by doing it that way, you get a lot of that, both cultural, but also business immersion. We go to different companies in every country. You have speakers, you meet with top management to understand their particular challenges and also their business models of how they address those challenges. So in that, I think you're seeing a compare and contrast through these two programs. Also through the IMM Global EMBA, you earn 2 MBA degrees, one from Purdue and one from our Dutch partner TIAS. Both of these programs are what we call a General Management MBA, covering a different set of courses that we think the general manager needs to know, both at the functional level and then the integrative, to give you those skills to make the right trade-offs, be asking the right questions, and really move decisions forward within your organization. In both, we have the electives, the coaching, capstone projects, and more. So definite similarities, but 2 different areas of emphasis. And then lastly, in terms of this overview, and then I'll start talking less and the panelists will be talking more, is just sharing what a typical week on campus would look like. That campus might be West Lafayette, Indiana. It might be in Tilburg in the Netherlands. And so classes are typically Monday through Saturday, as you see, breakfast and lunch provided. And then 2 90-minute classes in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Typically, it'll be a different topic just to give you a bit of mental variety. Where possible, we have a company visit to complement the curriculum. So in West Lafayette, we often will go to the Amazon Distribution Center, which is not too far from campus. And that very much complements the operations course that we have within that particular module. Evenings, free evening just means we haven't planned anything for you, but there may be some work that you're doing. But at the same time, with the breaks that are built in, people within the class, that they have time to return a phone call, reply to emails. So while you're immersed in the learning, you're still able to have that minimal communication. And that's important because not all companies want to have their employees be away for 1 or 2 weeks at a time. And just you and your company knowing that you can still have that engagement while you're still focused on the learning, to me, strikes a nice balance between getting the benefits for you, that you can help your company, but also not putting your company in a situation where they feel they can't get your assistance if it is critical. So that gives you an idea of what Purdue offers and how we've put our programs together. And now let's move into some questions for the panelists to see how their backgrounds brought them to go through this particular experience. So we'll start off with the first one. And on occasion, I may combine questions, so stay on your feet or stay on your toes. So I'll start off, when you graduated with your undergraduate degree, where did you think you were headed and how did that change 5, 10, 15 years down the road? I'm going to start, Amy, with you because you already alluded to that a little bit. If you want to just build upon that answer for us.
Sure. So I can tell you that I wasn't someone who really thought of a plan much. Didn't think I would actually ever go back and continue my education. But working for a small privately held company, we don't have career succession planning. It ends up being something that you are self-directing to a certain extent. So as that process started to evolve for myself and I continued to advance in the corporation, I started to realize that I had neglected to get some really true business experience. And that's what then became goals for me. I actually read a book. It's called The One Thing. And the one thing was, what is the one thing you can do today to make everything else easier and necessary? And for me, that became getting my MBA. So that's what I did.
Very nice. Thank you. Sarah, we'll jump the pond here. Can you share your views on that?
Yeah, sure. So I graduated, my undergraduate degree was in the history of design, culture and society. So very different from an MBA. And whilst I was at university, I was working in a hospital near my campus. So I was working and education at the same time. And then I found that once I graduated, the money in arts is not quite what I wanted it to be. So I stuck in the hospital, and then I kind of made my way into medical education. And that's kind of where I've been for a while. And then I got into organizational development. And then I realized that if I wanted to get further, I was going to have to do some kind of a business degree. And I was looking at medical education, masters and that kind of thing. And then I came across MBAs and then TIAS and the Purdue one, and working. And again, education at the same time really works for me because I like to keep busy and on my toes. So that's how I got into that.
Okay, thank you. Sue-Lin, can you share your experiences on this?
Sure. I studied the sociology, like Brian, I think you said that as well, for my undergraduate. But I also had, at the time, master in business, but more from country level trading rather than company and the firm level. And since then, I in principle worked for firms or private companies or public companies. And as time goes by, while you work hard, I more and more had a moment to ask questions why certain decisions were made, why CEOs or the higher level senior managers in the company make a certain decision, which to me not always logical. And that was, as time goes by, more and more. And that was for me really the primary reason I wanted to understand a bit better something behind than I thought or expected is happening at the organization level. So that was for me interesting, motivation for coming back to the MBA. But then I did not want to come back to really the real students, but more like executive level, so that you can share the experiences or the dilemmas you had. And that really made the value of having a network and a fellow colleagues in the industry. So
Okay.
that's how it went for me.
Great, thank you. And Brian, can you share a little bit more on your experience with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I started interning at a credit card bank right out of college, and and I was young and really had no idea where I thought my career was going. And I've always been a bit of an opportunist. So as opportunities opened for me, I just walked through them, and I've had a great career. And I think what I've realized over the last couple of years is, when you get to a certain point in your career, everybody's got great resumes. And, I think if you're going to compete head to head on resume, there's always going to be someone that might be your equal or a little bit further ahead. And so, the one thing, kind of going back to what Amy said, I really like that there are things that you can do in your life to put yourself in a good position. And I felt that, my lack of an MBA, could hurt me if I was in head-to-head competition later on for a certain position. And I think you also see, if you look at job boards this day, a CPA or an MBA is preferred for a lot of, C-suite type positions. And, so I just wanted to set myself up for success and take that opportunity. And, what I've learned is that, once you're into this experience, so many relationships and opportunities continue to open up, and really excited about that decision. I would say that, as we're all busy professionals, the one thing that kind of held me back from this decision was, the time and the commitment. And I think you have to realize in life, nothing's ever going to slow down, and nothing's going to be easy. So, I think as I thought about it, that decision just kept coming to the forefront. Why not now? And so that's what led me to the decision.
Excellent, thank you. And so I'll stay with you for the second. Was there a moment or period in your career when you knew you needed to get more management education to be able to continue to move up? So you've talked about it more as a gradual, realization. You want to hold to that answer? Or is there anything else you want to add if there was some particular moment? in time.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the point around, the people you deal with on a daily basis only get more and more talented. And when you're sitting around a conference table and having deep discussion, first and foremost, you want to know what people are talking about. And second, you want to contribute. And, I think the things that you learn, in the MBA program is a considerable tool to bridging that knowledge gap.
Excellent, thank you. Sarah, was there any particular moment, or was it as well sort of this gradual realization?
I think it was gradual, but a couple of years ago, I found myself thinking, I'm bored at work. Not that there's a lot of work and it's really challenging and it's busy, but it's become a bit samey, and I want to stretch myself, and I want to stretch those above me, and I want to learn a bit more, so that I can ask those questions. I can delve a bit deeper, and actually I can move up the ladder and perhaps be part of those bigger conversations and be part of that change within this organisation and healthcare more broadly. So it was part of that. I find I get itchy feet every couple of years, and I need to do something quite big and have a big educational kind of situation and learn a lot more, because I want to move forward and I want to move on. And the IMM program really filled that gap for me, and it was really amazing.
If I remember for you, and I hope I remember right, you had been part of a training program in Scandinavia or something, and that seemed to sort of spark that interest for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to share on that for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went and I lived over and worked over in Finland for a while, and that really broadened my view as to healthcare education, kind of partnerships, and a wider strategy for healthcare and the care of a population. So looking at it as a whole, so health and social care as a whole, rather than it being these separate entities that we kind of push it into. So moving abroad and really broaden my perspective, and then that's what I felt IMM could bring as well, because of the travel and the diversity of the groups that you'd be in really would help that as well.
Okay, thank you. And Amy, you've talked about this a little bit. Anything you want to add on this particular question?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me was recognizing that I had been in a successful position in sales for probably, I don't know, a decade, and that it wasn't going to be enough if that was it for me. And realizing that a lot of individuals in my organization also had a long tenure. I mean, I'd been here 17 years when I decided to go after my MBA. And it really felt like I needed the stretch of outside perspective. It wasn't necessarily the content, but the ability to connect with a cohort of people at an executive level to see what different thought processes were out there was super important to me. And I got that in spades. So much talent and so many great people in our cohort. I learned so much from so many of them. It's absolutely worth every minute of time that you think you don't have to participate in the program. It was incredible.
And on the flip side, they learned a lot from you. And that's the great thing about that cohort experience. Everyone has something to contribute and to learn, definitely. I'm going to move us to this second set of questions, if that's fine. They're all somewhat related, really. So I'm going to combine, if you will, the first three almost, if that's fine. So, as you were starting to now move into joining an EMBA program, did you worry about not having that, background in business management, at least from a degree perspective? What concerns did that give you? And what was your search process? So I'm combining all three of those together. I'm going to start with Brian, only because that's maybe freshest in your memory, if that's fine. And then I'll go to Sue and after Brian on this one. So Brian, can you kick us off, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, early on, I realized that when the cohorts are put together, whether it's at the Purdue program or any other executive MBA program, It's more about who you are and what you bring to the program. And I think that's important. I think that should give everybody confidence that there is a program which you can contribute to and in a very meaningful way. And I think Aldous, you said it right. Your experience helps enhance the learning experience. What you bring to the table. What experiences you have in real life business can help people who are from different industries or backgrounds. And so, I very much appreciated that, when I walked in, there was, not, 20 other people who were just like me. And, I think that's important. And, as I was looking for a program, I really wanted to be, one of a few from, a finance background. And I think that I certainly have that in my current cohort, where I'm one of two with deep finance background. So that's great because, I can help. But when it gets to operations and things like that, I can very much lean on the people who have, strong manufacturing backgrounds and things like that.
Yeah.
And building on that, just your experience as you began your search, anything you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you have to, it kind of goes back to, you have to find the program that works for you and your schedule. You have to find a program that works for your family. It has to work for your employer. And so as I looked around, I had, good confidence in my abilities, and, I was looking for a well-rounded program that was, going to give me those 10 or 11 courses that I had no experience, and I have not been disappointed with this program. So, you talked about it earlier, but the program format is different than most at the executive level, and the ability for me to, unplug for a week or two at a time, from my family, from my work, is great, instead of doing the every other weekend. That's just, it seems like a constant disruption to your work and your lifestyle. And for me, travel is 50% or better of the time for work. I did not want to spend every other weekend away from my family on top of that. So the format really works. So it was a natural fit.
Great, thank you. Sue-Ann, your thoughts and your experiences on this, of what concerns maybe you had starting out?
Yeah, large extent, kind of similar as what Brian said. I was not really afraid of not having, this engineering, that I cannot master this program. Although I had a great difficulty, for instance, finance. It was really a threatening experience, let's put it that way. Not that one, but there are a variety of executive MBA programs around. So I was really keen on what I really would like to choose for. And most important thing for me was indeed the schedule. And I'm not really a kind of person who can indeed be weekly on and off. I'm not really good at. So I really preferred to have 2 weeks the focused schedule, and then the rest you can combine with your daily life. That was important. And the international experience, visiting and seeing and get along with different nationalities and cultures. I really loved the past working experiences, and still in the future. So those two combination was really important, and that was the program that I chose. And what else? Oh yeah, the in general, now apparently we gather here because of the concern that liberal arts being the undergraduate diploma. But in general, I really don't think it really does not matter what sort of undergraduate education you have. What matters more is what kind of work experience you had, what kind of troubles or dilemmas you got. And that is far more important and valuable to be able to share with your cohorts and during the class. And if you do not have that, and that will be more challenging than your previous education background.
Okay, thank you. Amy, we'll move to you, your perspectives on these first three questions.
These were actually my biggest fears coming from education. I was afraid to even consider taking a GMAT. And I actually deferred my entrance into the program but for a year, because when I started researching programs in the area and what different options I had, I was like, it's going to take me a year to pass a GMAT. I haven't been in school in 20 years. So a lot of these things hit home for me, and just paranoia. Luckily, the program, I was able to waive that portion because of my number of years of work experience, which alleviated that for me. I tend to be pretty confident in that I can learn subject matter. All this has always done a really good job in all my experiences of setting up the expectations for what we were getting ready to get into, that hey, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge, but no soldier left behind. We're going to get you through it and put the work in, and it's going to happen. So thankfully for me, some of those fears that I had were actually dissuaded, but I intentionally chose a program with people who had work experience. I wasn't looking for a rollover grad study program. I wanted people who were going to challenge me, be much smarter than I am, have much broader experience than I do. And from that perspective, the MBA was perfect. But yeah, I was scared to death, to be perfectly honest, to go back to school at all.
Well, you hid your fear well, Amy. I'll share that with you.
Thank you.
And Sarah, if you can share your perspectives on these first three related questions.
Sure. So I started out looking mainly within the UK, so big London universities, and then broadened that out to the Netherlands and Germany. And it was through that research that I came across TIAS and then the joint program they do with Purdue. So looking into that, and what really convinced me was, again, as everybody said, the layout of the program. So how it can really fit in with work and life and keeping that balance, but also keeping you motivated along the way. And I did until this year travel a lot of the time because I really enjoy travel. And so I would go for 2 weeks for the program and then kind of bookend some annual leave either side so I could go exploring myself. And because of my undergraduate degree with arts and culture, that the IMM program really helped to enhance that as well. So I don't think that there should be any disparity between, maybe an engineering degree being better than an arts program, because actually what you bring with you is your work experience anyway, but that undergraduate degree, whatever it may be, will still bring with it essential skills that you can share with the rest of that class. And that's one of the rich parts of the program, is talking outside of the classroom with your peers on that group and getting that insight and sharing your experiences. And I learned so much from everybody else, and I'm sure everyone got bored of listening to me talk about it's a non-profit, I don't need to make profit and that kind of stuff. And it was really good. I mean, it was scary insofar as I've never done a finance course in my life. I've never done statistics, and that was scary. And, but I'm not afraid to ask for help. And the professors are amazing and really encouraging you to do your best and to help you through it, as well as everybody else in the course, because where you may struggle with one thing, a couple of modules down, they may need your help with something else. It's all about just working as a larger group, a larger team, to help each other through. And that's what I found really enjoyable about it as well.
And yes, you work in the medical sector, not for profit, but there was this event going on in the UK when Sarah was in the program called Brexit. So I think one thing that Sarah brought in, and when I mentioned geographic diversity brings in diversity of economic experiences, we had her perspective. Now, she had strong views. It doesn't mean everyone thinks that way, but just being able to talk to someone on the ground, experiencing it firsthand rather than just poorly written headlines, I think was a strength. And one other thing I'll just add as well, I think one reason why people with liberal arts may have concerns is because most liberal art undergrad programs will not have had the finance or quant or anything. And so all of you will remember that part of the admissions process is talking, well, what quant skills do you currently use? And with Sarah, I'm picking on you only because you just finished your answer. I remember we talked about the budgets that you do for training. And so it's like she works with numbers that gives the foundation needed to understand the curriculum. So again, our goal, regardless of background, is to ensure that people do have that foundation to do well moving forward. So excellent. Let me look at the last two. We've already been hitting upon this as well. So looking at your undergraduate education, and Sarah already started to answer it, but I'm still going to have Sue go first on this. It is potentially a view that, well, liberal arts doesn't give you the foundation, but there's a reason for liberal arts degrees, part of which is to give you that broader understanding and in a way help you bring pieces together, in my view, in a way that a very focused degree may not be able to do. So Sue, in starting with you, I know you said it's what you've done after undergraduate that's really important, but even, you know, you're still a product of all your experiences. So did you feel that undergraduate education still helped you bring pieces together successfully as you went through the program?
Not really. I did not really expect or experience my undergraduate degree being hindering the ability to learn. But in my case, the statistics, for instance, was part of my important part of the undergraduate. So the numbering exercise obviously helped, but I was terribly bad before that in, for instance, finance. The moment that you have this dollar sign, everything becomes very difficult for me for the same number exercise. So that was, yeah, I think that was the very distinctive two different courses that I experienced. One thing I experienced quite familiar, the other very awkward. But for me, yeah, the work experience, it's as I said earlier, it's far more important, benefiting, yeah, from the program.
Right, right. Okay.
So
that seems to be
yeah.
a theme for everyone today, certainly. Brian, is that would you also continue with that perspective, or is there a different perspective you might have?
No, I think that's absolutely right. I think there's components of your undergrad degree that are helpful. I think that there's components of your work experience that are helpful. I think that you know, the commonality from everyone in the cohort is that they're intelligent people and they're people who have achieved in their personal and their careers, right? And so, you know, I think your background may give you a leg up and maybe one or two courses, no matter what your background is in. But for every other course, you're on an equal playing field with the majority of the cohort. So, you know, I would just really be confident that, you know, all of your experiences will add in one way or another. And if you're in the room, you've got what it takes because you are an intelligent person and you are an achiever, and you are looking to push your career and each other forward. So, you know, I would say I didn't have any, you know, real hindrance, but I think once you realize, you know, what the makeup in the room is and why that works so well, you can calm down pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you. I'll move us to the last set of questions. now beyond the EMBA. So really it's looking now that you're past graduation, what are you seeing? We'll combine the first three questions here. What impact are you seeing or what adjustments in your career? I know, Amy, it's pretty recent for you, but I'll still start with you. You did put in a lot of thought. In fact, we were talking for about a year and a half, I think, before you joined. So how have there been any shifts or any impact that you're already seeing that you're able to share today?
Oh my gosh, huge shifts actually. So I was actually promoted in November to the Chief Client Officer role, which is a new role for the organization. The biggest shift I've seen, starting literally as the receptionist in a company, is the level of respect that I now receive from individuals who used to see me in a position that may have not have been as valued. But literally changed my life and my thought process, to be perfectly candid. So while I'm working with people I've worked with for 20 years, I find that my perspective is challenging theirs because I see things differently than I did before ever entering into a program like this. Challenging in a positive way, you know, helping push the organization forward. A lot of times sitting in the room and being comfortable with the only person who's like, I don't actually see this situation that way. How can we make it work? I've applied techniques from the classes to actually get where we're at today. I actually used some of our OBHR classes to actually design and create my position and my job description to get myself hired into the job that I'm in now. So it's been crazy rewarding. There are often times I'm talking to members of my cohort that we're all still very close, and I'll say, what have you guys thought about this? And they'll be like, don't you remember we did that in change management? Go back and pull the textbook out. And I find myself thinking, okay, you're right. It's in the content somewhere. Let's go pull that out and bring it in. But I mean, overall, I think my advice is go big or go home. And, you know, I'm thrilled with graduating as a Boilermaker. I'm super proud of the achievement. And I think the program is worth every penny that you charge and every experience in human life you get to touch while you're in it. And I think everyone should do it if they can. It's very worthwhile.
Excellent. Thank you. Sarah, you're just over half a year out. So not sure if there's been impact yet, but anything you'd like to share on impact or shifts that have happened?
Yeah, sure. So I graduated with you guys in December. And so then I was looking at positions mainly in the Netherlands and a couple in the US. And then obviously COVID hit. So at the moment, I don't feel like it would be the right move to leave my organization and to leave what I'm doing morally to go for another position in another country, another company. So for the moment, probably for this year, I will stay in my current position in the company just so I can help support everything that's going on. But having said that, I'm part of some really large projects that are going on. So we're kind of doing more work with social care. So I'm helping with that integration piece. There's loads on the technology that we're upgrading across the whole organization. So for 5,000 odd staff or whatever. So although I haven't technically moved anywhere, the projects that I'm taking on and the advice that I'm giving, and I'm doing a consultancy type of drop-in sessions with people, that's all grown, and that's something that I really enjoy doing. I'm also mentoring some people through their own MBA programs and helping them with their statistics and finance. So that's a funny turn of events, but it's encouraging others to do and continue their education, because learning is a lifelong process, and that's something that I truly believe in, and that's something that IMM has instilled in me, and I'll carry on and just keep going.
Very nice. Sue-Lin, you've been out now a few years. Can you share your experiences on these questions?
Yes. When I was in the MBA program, kind of a similar question or motivation I experienced was there is some sort of a difference between Europe and America. The importance of having an MBA seems to be far more significant in the US than in Europe. At least that's how I felt it and experienced. So at least for me, I did not really go for a diploma or specific idea to get promoted for career path. It was really more to have a better understanding, look what I want to, achieve, and more kind of inner side. I see in Europe also more and more companies ask MBA as a required diploma in that sense. So I see far more opportunities than if you want to move on. So that's an advantage. But for me, it's the promotion itself was really far less important for me. And in this sense, actually what helped for me in the career path, although I didn't really make a big move, is that I think by now I more dare to accept and choose for changes, which I haven't done it before. I would now far more dare to do so. So at this moment, also it's because of this COVID becoming a bit complicated, but I'm kind of considering to move to do something different. So that definitely helped by this MBA program, I would say.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
And I know, Brian, you're near the end, but not quite, but maybe there's been some ideas you've been able to implement or some impact you're already seeing.
Yeah, look, I'd break it down into two things, and first is just the content that we're learning. I am a better manager, because of things I've learned. Amy mentioned some of the change management and negotiations, and those skills are things that you can, put to work immediately. Even though I have a finance background, I didn't have a deep accounting background, right? And so, I found myself telling somebody, can we just look at the T account the other day? And I almost surprised myself, So, it just creeps into your day to day. These are real skills. You are engaged. This is real learning. And it's things that you can learn on Friday and implement on Monday. And I think that's great. The second thing that I'm going to be a little critical of y'all, you don't promote this very well, is the career support and the executive coaching that happens along with the program. And it was a surprise to me, the ability to talk to an executive coach and see the different, partnerships that we have access to. I'm not actively looking for another opportunity, but I know that with all the tools that are available through the program, and because I'm a part of the program, I could very easily transition into something else. And so that is a real benefit that I think we have to do a better job in these type sessions, helping people realize they have access to.
Okay, point noted. Let me change my slides based on your feedback.
Thanks, Aldous.
We're going to talk about career impact. So indeed, all students do have the ability to work with an executive career coach, and with the model or system that's been developed, it's helping our students create a vision of where they'd like to be 2 years after graduation. And the acronym developed is called FIG, helping you choose what functional area, industry, and geography you'd like to be working in. And then the executive career coach works with you to create a plan and help you start executing on the plan. And that's just one element of the career management that we provide. Going to Brian's point, career management does not mean you're looking to leave your company. It means you are managing your career. And we believe everyone should be managing their career regardless of where they are in their career and what their goals are. It's creating that vision plan and making it move forward. And there's other resources as well that we provide through other partnerships. We're seeing the impact by providing this, and through the curriculum, certainly. Almost 80% are promoted within 2 years of graduation. Many more, such as Amy, promoted while they're in the program as well, or creating their own position and getting promoted. I like that. But it shows how in Amy's case, she identified a need and showed how she can fulfill that need. That's brilliant. It truly is. And it's with that ability to contribute more to your organization, certainly the salary impact has been quite significant for people in the program as well. These two statistics from an economist survey done earlier this year. And one other element I'll mention as we start to wrap up, and it's been mentioned of how you're learning from each other, the ties, but in truth, it's friendships that are being formed, and that's usually a question I would ask. I think everyone will give a thumbs up. It's not just a couple friends that you've gotten to know. And here's a quote from one of our alums from a few years back. He goes, "I remember someone telling us about lifelong friendships during launch week. I kind of thought it wasn't true. I was wrong. Thought you might enjoy seeing our photo." So this is with just two of his people from the cohort, where they're thousands of miles away from where any of them live, and they started an annual trip to the northwest of the U.S., mountain climbing and all sorts of wonderful things like that. So it is the bond that form when you're together day after day, either here in West Lafayette, in the Netherlands, or where have you, that helps form much stronger relationships than just seeing someone from 6 to 10 p.m. once a week. So if that's important to you, I think our format does it in a way that other programs simply cannot. Wrapping up, financing is often a big question. So both of our programs are priced the same, 5 tuition payments of $17,000 each. Many companies provide partial support, so be looking into that. And then from your own side, savings, loans, and then scholarships that we provide within the program. What we're finding is that putting all those pieces together do allow people to create a financial plan to cover the cost of the program. If what we've talked about is of interest to you and you'd like to move forward, we invite you to send your resume to me for review and the GMAT waiver decision. That's what Amy was referring to earlier. If a discussion or a review of a resume can save you hours of studying and taking a multiple choice test, we think that's a win-win for everyone involved. Second, because you're likely looking at other programs, we'll compare our 2 programs with up to 3 others. Send us the names of those programs. We send it to you in an Excel file that you can add your own research into. Start having those discussions about joining any EMBA program of your interest. And we can also connect you with alums. We can connect you with the 4 on today, or alums of different industry or functional backgrounds. They will be honest. I mean, if Brian's criticizing me in front of a million people right now, he's not going to hold back on a one-on-one discussion. We continue to do these webinars. Next month, it's a bit deeper dive on the program, what we call our EMBA 101 webinar. So you're welcome to come back for that. We have opportunities to come sit in on a class, even during COVID. We do it in a safe way, certainly, and we only have a few people come in. That way we can keep the physical distancing in place during visits. Application is online, fairly straightforward. Resume, 3 required essays plus an optional scholarship essay, 2 references, transcripts, an interview with myself and one of our admissions committee members. We do it through Zoom, of course, and that way we have that ability to get to know you better and for you to ask additional questions. If you are admitted, get ready to be challenged. I think all of our panelists today, I think it was Amy or Brian that said Aldous was always honest about the workload. Yes, I am. It is hard, but it is rewarding, and I think that's a definite theme that has come across. For this fall, our launch for the traditional EMBA is September 15th. But we still are accepting applications. So if you got some decision this week that your supervisor says, now is a good time to do an EMBA, with many people working remotely, they actually find that going and joining this program fits even better with their schedules, we're here to support you in any way that we can. If the global program that Sarah and Sue graduated from appeals to you, the 7 countries on 4 continents, in getting that range of experiences, then we're starting that in March, and you have the different deadlines, December, January, and February, to join that program as well. So again, I'm Aldous Kritrinas, Executive Director. My email, akriauci@purdue.edu. Feel free to reach out at any point if you have any questions. And I'd like to thank our panelists again today, Ryan, Sarah, Sue, and Amy. It's great having you in the program. It's great seeing you here as well today. And I hope to see you all at some event somewhere in the future as well. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.